November 1987, Los Angeles County Hospital emergency room. A man walked in, leather jacket, weathered face. He looked like a drifter, a nobody. But he wasn't. He approached the billing desk, asked about a family he'd never met, a woman, dying, 2 children, terrified, medical bills piling up like a death sentence. He pulled out a checkbook, paid everything, disappeared into the night. 20 years later, that family discovered who he was, and when they did, they wept, because the man who saved them was a ghost, a legend, a broken king who gave away pieces of his soul in silence. Here's the story. The late 80s in Los Angeles, a city of dreams, built on the backs of the desperate. The emergency room at LA County Hospital smelled like bleach and fear. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead, casting everything in a sickly yellow glow. Gurneys lined the hallways. Nurses moved fast, their faces tight with exhaustion. This wasn't the glamorous side of Hollywood. This was where the system chewed people up and spit them out. In one of those rooms, a woman named Maria Gonzalez lay dying. Ovarian cancer, stage 4. The kind that doesn't negotiate, the kind that takes everything you have and asks for more. She was 34 years old, 2 kids, no insurance. Her husband had left 3 years prior, vanished into the California desert like so many men do when life gets hard. Her children, Sophia and Miguel, sat in the waiting room. Sophia was 12, Miguel was 8. They held each other's hands and tried not to cry. They'd been told the treatment could save her. Maybe. But the bills had already climbed past $60,000. Money they didn't have. Money they'd never have. The hospital was patient for a while. But patience has a price tag, and theirs was running out. Marlon Brando was 53 years old that year. His career was in ruins. His body was bloated from decades of excess. The critics said he was washed up, a joke. The man who had once been Stanley Kowalski, who had been Vito Corleone, was now doing whiskey commercials and bizarre art films nobody understood. But that wasn't the truth. The truth was darker, sadder. Brando was haunted. His son Christian was spiraling into violence and addiction. His daughter Cheyenne was descending into madness. His own body betrayed him every time he looked in the mirror. The studios had turned their backs on him. The press mocked him. He lived on a private island in Tahiti when he could, hiding from a world that no longer wanted him. But here's what they didn't tell you about Marlon Brando. He still walked among the people. Not as a star, as a shadow. He'd put on old clothes, a baseball cap, sunglasses. He'd wander the streets of Los Angeles at night like a phantom. Sometimes he'd go to hospitals, sit in waiting rooms, watch the suffering, because suffering was the only thing that made sense to him anymore. Maria Gonzalez had been in and out of that hospital for 6 months. Each visit drained what little money her family had. Her mother, Rosa, worked 2 jobs, cleaning houses during the day, washing dishes at night. Her fingers were raw. Her back ached constantly. But she couldn't work fast enough to keep up with the bills. The hospital administrators were kind at first. They set up payment plans, extended deadlines. But kindness only stretches so far when the numbers don't add up. By November, they'd received the final notice. Pay $22,000 by the end of the month, or Maria would be discharged. Sent home. No more chemotherapy, no more treatment, just hospice care, just waiting to die. Rosa couldn't sleep. She'd lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling, doing math in her head. $22,000. She'd need to work for 3 years straight, spending nothing, saving everything, to earn that much. Maria didn't have 3 years. She had weeks, maybe days. Sophia stopped going to school. She couldn't focus, couldn't sit in a classroom and pretend everything was normal when her mother was dying. Miguel stopped talking, just stared out windows with empty eyes. The family was breaking, crumbling, like so many families do when the system decides they're not worth saving. Quick question: have you ever had a secret that was eating you alive? Let us know in the comments. Marlon Brando had many secrets. He'd paid for strangers' groceries in supermarkets, left anonymous tips for struggling waitresses, funded scholarships for Native American students under fake names. He gave money away like it was poison, like keeping it would kill him, because in a way, it would. Brando understood something most people never learn. Wealth without purpose is a prison. Fame without meaning is torture. He'd spent his life searching for something real, something true, and he'd found it in the most unlikely place, in other people's pain, not because he was a savior, but because their pain reminded him he was still human. One night in early November, Brando was driving through East LA. No destination, just driving. He'd been doing that a lot lately, moving through the city like a ghost, watching lives unfold through windows. He stopped at a diner, ordered coffee, sat in a booth in the corner. At the table next to him, an older woman was crying, quiet tears. The kind you cry when you've run out of loud ones. She had a folder in front of her, medical bills. He could see the letterhead, LA County Hospital. He didn't approach her, didn't say a word, but he listened. She was talking to a younger woman, her daughter maybe, or a friend, telling her about her daughter Maria, about the cancer, about the children, about the impossible choice between saving a life and destroying a family. Brando finished his coffee, left $100 bill on the table, and walked out. But he didn't go home. He went to the hospital. The billing office at LA County Hospital stayed open until 9 p.m. on weekdays. It was a small room on the third floor. Beige walls, flickering fluorescent lights, a single desk with a tired woman behind it. Her name was Helen. She'd been working there for 17 years. She'd seen it all. The tears, the anger, the desperation. At 8:45, a man walked in. Helen looked up, saw the leather jacket, the rumpled clothes, the beard. She assumed he was homeless. It happened sometimes. People wandering into the hospital looking for warmth, for help. "Can I help you?" she asked. Professional, polite, but guarded. The man approached the desk slowly. He moved like someone carrying great weight. "I need to ask about a patient," he said. His voice was soft, almost hoarse. "Are you family?" "No." Helen frowned. "I can't give out patient information to—" "I'm not asking for information," he interrupted gently. "I'm asking about a bill." That got her attention. "What's the patient's name?" "Maria Gonzalez." Helen typed into her computer. Her expression shifted, softened. "Are you related to the family?" "No," he said again. "I'm just someone who can help." Helen stared at him. In 17 years, she'd seen a lot of things. But this was new. "Her bill is $22,347, Helen said carefully. "But sir, if you're not family, I can't accept—" The man reached into his jacket, pulled out a checkbook. Helen watched as he wrote. His hand moved slowly, deliberately. When he was done, he tore out the check and slid it across the desk. $22,347, exactly. Helen picked up the check. Her hands were shaking. "Sir, I need a name for the records. I need identification." The man smiled. Sad, tired. "No, you don't." "I'm sorry, but I can't." "You can," he said quietly. "You'll find a way. You're good at your job. You've been doing it for a long time. You know how to make things work." Helen looked at the check again, then at the man. Really looked at him, and in that moment she knew. She'd seen The Godfather. Everyone had. She'd seen a streetcar named Desire on the waterfront, Apocalypse Now. She'd grown up watching this man transform into gods and monsters on screen. Marlon Brando, right here, in her tiny office, at 9 o'clock at night, paying a stranger's medical bills. "Mr. Brando," she whispered. He held up a hand. "No names, please." "Why are you doing this?" He looked at her, and for a moment, Helen saw something in his eyes she'd never seen in any movie. Real pain. Real humanity. "Because I can," he said simply, "and because someone should." Helen felt tears on her cheeks. She didn't even realize she was crying. "What do I tell the family?" "Tell them it's been taken care of. Tell them there are still good people in the world. Don't tell them anything else. They'll want to thank you." "No," Brando said firmly. "They won't, because they'll never know. That's the point." He turned to leave. Helen stood up. "Wait." He stopped. Didn't turn around. "Why her? Why this family?" Brando was quiet for a long moment. "Because I heard her mother crying in a diner," he said, "and I'm tired of hearing people cry." Then he walked out. Helen stood there, holding the check, watching him disappear down the hallway. She didn't chase him, didn't call security, didn't tell anyone. She processed the payment, marked the account as paid in full. In the notes section, she typed, "Anonymous donor. Do not pursue." The next morning, Rosa Gonzalez received a phone call. The hospital administrator told her the bills had been paid, all of them. She asked who, how, why. The administrator said he didn't know. Anonymous donation. Happens sometimes. Rosa didn't believe it, but she didn't argue. Maria lived another 7 months. The treatment worked. Not perfectly, not completely, but it gave her time. Time to see Sophia graduate from middle school. Time to teach Miguel how to ride a bike. Time to say goodbye properly. When she finally passed in June of 1988, she died at home, surrounded by family, in peace. The bills never came back. 20 years later, in 2007, Sofia Gonzalez was 32 years old. She was a nurse, working, ironically, at the same hospital where her mother had been treated. She dedicated her life to helping others, because someone had helped her family when they needed it most. She'd never stopped wondering who. Her grandmother Rosa had passed away in 2003. On her deathbed, she made Sophia promise something. Find out who saved your mother. Thank them. Tell them what it meant. Sophia tried. She filed requests with the hospital, searched through old records, hit dead ends, privacy laws, lost paperwork. The trail went cold until 2004. Marlon Brando died on July 1st, 2004. The world mourned. Tributes poured in. Documentaries were made. One of those documentaries interviewed Helen Morrison, the former billing clerk from LA County Hospital. She was retired by then, living in Arizona, and she was tired of keeping secrets. She told the story on camera. The man in the leather jacket, the check, the sad eyes. She didn't mention Maria Gonzalez by name, but she mentioned the date. November 1987, the amount, $22,000. Sophia was watching, and she knew. She broke down. Called her brother Miguel. They wept together over the phone. Because the man who saved their mother, who gave them 7 more months of love and memory, was a legend, a ghost, someone they could never thank. Sophia tried to find Helen Morrison, wanted to hear the story directly, but Helen had died in 2006. Heart attack. The only proof was the documentary footage and her family's memories. Miguel became a teacher. He tells his students about Marlon Brando every year, not about his movies, about his character. Sophia keeps a photograph of Brando on her desk at the hospital, a reminder. That greatness isn't about fame. It's about what you do when no one's watching. In 2009, Sophia wrote a letter to Brando's estate. She told them what he'd done, how it changed her family's life, how her mother's final months were gifts because of his kindness. She never received a response. But that's not the point. The point is this: Marlon Brando didn't want gratitude. He didn't want recognition. He wanted to ease suffering, to be human in a world that treated him like a commodity. He succeeded. People remember Marlon Brando for his performances, the power, the intensity, the genius. But that's not who he really was. He was a man in constant pain, searching for redemption, trying to balance the scales of a universe that gave him everything and took everything in return. His children suffered, his marriages failed, his body betrayed him. But in the quiet moments, in the shadows, he was giving pieces of himself away to strangers, to people who would never know his name, because that's where he found peace. Maria Gonzalez never knew Marlon Brando saved her life, but it didn't matter. The love she gave her children in those final 7 months rippled forward. Sophia became a nurse. Miguel became a teacher. They raised their own children with the same lesson. Help people. Ask for nothing in return. That's Brando's real legacy. Not the Oscars, not the iconic roles, but the lives he touched in silence. So here's the question for you. If you could change someone's life and they'd never know it was you, would you? Or do we only help people when we get credit? Let us know in the comments. Because the truth is, we live in a world that worships fame. That measures worth in followers and likes. That demands recognition for every good deed. Marlon Brando rejected all of that. He walked away from Hollywood, lived on an island, gave his money to strangers, died quietly, and left behind a mystery that took 20 years to solve. That's not weakness, that's strength. And unfortunately, they don't make men like Marlon Brando anymore.